At the end of the day, when you're working, you're spending more time with the people you're working with, usually than your families. So might as well make it a good experience. And when you do come to work, have a good time doing it.
You're listening to the Profit by Design podcast, episode 33. You work hard in your business. On the Profit by Design podcast, we ask the big question. What has your business done for you lately? Hi, I'm Dr. Sabrina Starling, the business psychologist, the author of How to Hire the Best, and your co-host on the Profit by Design podcast. Weekly, my co-host, Mike Bruno, and I bring you tips, tools, and strategies from our own experiences and from the experiences of our guests, who are entrepreneurial thought leaders and real-life entrepreneurs, all to support you in making intentionally profitable and sustainable business decisions to live the lifestyle you desire. So profit designers, on today's episode, you're going to get to listen in on a conversation that I have with Kieran Lynch. He is the owner of a very successful electrical contracting company, and the business has grown considerably in the last few years. And not only is that in and of itself an interesting discussion on his insights, but I think what really intrigues me is that in the last year, they've brought on 10 team members. So they've grown into a company of 17. So in the last year, 10 of those team members are brand new. And we get into a discussion around culture. Kieran has some incredible insights on culture, how he's been able to hire 10 people in the last year in the construction industry and get A players on board. So there's some good perspective there. He also has some very interesting perspectives on work-life balance and what it takes to grow and grow profitably. Kieran Lynch has over 10 years of experience in the electrical industry and joined Lynch Power, formerly Lynch Contracting, family business part-time in 2004, first helping his father as an apprentice electrician on nights and weekends to becoming an integral part to the company's growth and success as vice president. Along the way, Kieran has held positions of electrical journeyman, foreman, assistant project manager, and project manager. Kieran leads the finance, marketing, and strategic planning departments of Lynch Power, providing new age guidance on significant decisions for the company. His broad experience, proven leadership, and hands-on approach ensures client satisfaction. So Kieran, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
I am delighted to get to have this conversation with you. You've had a very fast introduction, I think, into the entrepreneurial world. And I think you're going to have a very interesting perspective to share with our listeners today. So let's just kind of start with getting to know you and your story a little bit. And tell me why you chose to do what you're doing.
Sure. So it all started when I graduated college. I got my degree in finance from Rutgers University, did the, standard internships with the big financial companies where you sit at a desk all day. Basically, at that point, the internship was really just scanning papers. But I was shaking hands with the players in that industry. And as college teaches you to do is, you graduate and then you go and get a 9-to-5 job. So that's what I did. I got a job at a big corporation, don't want to put any names out there, a well-known corporation as a junior accountant. Did that for about 2 weeks and hated my life.
2 weeks? You're a fast learner.
So 2 weeks in, I knew it wasn't for me. So my father had always had his electrical license. He always did it on the side as moonlighting. It would help us. That's what paid for my school. That's what, when I was younger, put us on nicer vacations. So during those 2 weeks, after the first week of actually giving it a shot, the second week I was really just working on a business plan to present to my father. So after I finally quit, I said, let's do this full time. At the time, he had a full-time job. So he said, sounds great, but I can't take that risk right now where I am with my life. But if you want to start it up, go ahead. So for the first couple of years, it was me by myself. And then, as we slowly started to do more work and better work, obviously my father was always there to help me and guide me. I always answer the phone if I had any questions. But as we continued to grow, about 3 years in, he was actually able to retire from his full-time job and come on to Lynch Power full-time. And then now, 5 years later, we have 17 employees, a woman in the office that helps us do paperwork, and we're kind of busting out of the seams, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
How many years later did you say?
5.
Oh my goodness. That's a lot of team members to add in 5 years.
Yeah, and the funny part about that is that 10 of those people really came on within the past year. So within the past year, we've more than doubled our company size, which has been crazy to say the least.
I can only imagine, because I study great places to work and culture in businesses. And I have a book, How to Hire the Best. And one of the things I'm so aware of is when a business is formed, you have the core values of the owner, and those are the seeds of the culture. And every team member that you bring on is part of carrying that culture forward. And when you bring on more than half of your team in 1 year's time, retaining the culture and growing a healthy culture can be more challenging.
Mm-hmm.
So when I hear about that, what has that been like for you this past year?
A lot of learning curves. We actually just recently fired our top guy, underneath me and my father. He'd be the third in line, just strictly based on culture fit. He wasn't a good culture fit, and it was making the whole company slow, where he was kind of became a virus, where he knew he did great work, great to the clients, but when it was working his way down toward our lower level employees, the new guys that need to learn, that need to buy into the system, he was a cancer. So, it was just someone that we had to let go. And what I had found is that our team members were busy kind of behind the scenes politicking about how they don't like him more than working. And it was just like a snowball effect of bigger problems and bigger issues, because this guy was such a problem. And then I found that once we did let him go, everyone's mood just shot up basically instantly, and the work has been better. Everyone's been in a better mood, quicker, faster, better. And it's all because of him not being a good culture fit.
Wow, that's powerful. So one of the things that I've noticed, because I work with a lot of companies that are growing rapidly, and sometimes we have our core team members who are with us pretty much from the start. And then as the company starts growing and adding team members, they are no longer a good fit. Maybe it's just kind of like that phenomenon that you described. They're great with the customers, but it's the need to train and bring on new people where you see the breakdown happening. So what did you start to notice that were the first signs to you that, there's a problem here?
So it was one of our longest term employee, who's also, he's younger, so he's not as knowledgeable, but he is everything you want to be. If we had a company full of him, we'd go to 1,000 overnight, I think. But he's the one that kind of brought it to my attention. With all these newer guys, I think they were a little hesitant to come to me and say, this guy's being a really big problem. But it wasn't until we had our ace in the hole, our culture and an employee come to us and say, this guy's a problem and everyone's having a problem with him, that we finally opened our eyes. Because unfortunately, the company's grown to a size now where I can't be everywhere at all times. So he was really my eye in the field and was able to come and bring this to my attention.
Wow. So how do you define your culture? What is your culture like? Give us an insider's view.
Well, first off, I'm 28, and I want to say the average age of our company is around 25. So we have a very young company, and that's probably a little skewed up because my father's obviously older.
So it's even younger then, right?
Yeah, so and again, we're in contracting, so typically contracting's very down. No one really likes what they're doing, but with our company and our culture, it's kind of the opposite, where everyone likes coming to work. You work with your friends. Everyone's not just coworkers, but they're also friends. And I've tried to build this by kind of modeling it after the tech companies, the Googles, the Amazons of the world, where, you don't have to take, only 15 minutes. If the break goes over a little bit, or, if the break's not at 9 o'clock, but at 10 o'clock, that's okay. Like contracting historically has been very strict. You get 15 minutes at 9, you get half an hour at lunch, and that's it. But like with us, you could bend the rules a little bit. If you want to stop what you're doing to tell a story to the people that's relevant to what you're doing, that's fine. So it's very lighthearted, because at the end of the day, when you're working, you're spending more time with the people you're working with, usually than your families. So might as well make it a good experience. And when you do come to work, have a good time doing it.
Oh my gosh. I just hear the lightness and energy in your voice as you describe that. I imagine it feels really awesome to be a team member in that kind of.
And it's funny, because the gentleman that I mentioned before that we had to let go because he wasn't a culture fit, on his way out, kind of his exit interview, he said, your guys are always joking around all the time and laughing and having a good time. And I said to him, I was like, that's the way it's supposed to be. So obviously he's from the older world of contracting, and a lot of the other companies we work with, because we're a sub, so other subcontractors do have this mentality of, I hate my life, I hate my job, I'm just doing this to make money. Whereas a lot of our guys have bought in and enjoy coming to work and are friends with each other. And we have quarterly retreats where we do something. And, I try to keep it as light as possible, because, our job isn't all that glamorous.
You're a disruptor to the contracting industry.
Trying to be.
I love it. So you mentioned quarterly retreats, and you try to do something fun. Our listeners are always looking for great ideas for creating great places to work. So what are some of the fun things that you've done?
So we are super busy. When I say retreat, it's not like we're going to California on the beach or anything, but we are scheduling time out of the day every quarter to do something. So the end of the year, we went to hibachi, and everyone invited their wives or significant others. And that was a lot of fun, where they cook in front of you. This we're about to do for our first quarter, run a little late because we had to finish a couple of jobs. We're about to go take half a day on a Friday. I'll go bowling, spend the day there, do a little bracket challenge, and we'll have a trophy with a winner, a bowling winner. So it's just stuff like that, where you could get the whole company together, which is extremely rare in what we do, where they could collaborate. We don't really talk about work all that much. I'll kind of give like a quarterly state of the company address, saying this is where we are, this is the projects we finished, this is where we did well, this is where we didn't do so well. But that'll take about 15 minutes, get everyone aligned, and then after that, it's have a good time and be merry.
That's great. I love that. So, okay, I am always curious about the hiring process, and especially in the construction world, because that industry has some of the biggest labor challenges out there. And I also know that getting younger people to go into the trades is very hard. There's a very small percentage. You've brought on 10 team members in the last year. Where are you finding these people, Kieran?
The people that we've actually hired are all word of mouth. And we actually have a referral program with our guys, which again is pretty rare for the trades. So they do get a couple bucks for the interview. After they're with us a month, it's a next amount. And then after 3 months, it's the final amount. And the amounts get bigger and bigger. Obviously, after 3 months, if they're still there, most likely still like them and they're going to stay.
Okay, so I'm a huge advocate of the employee referral incentive program. And I want to ask you here, a few bucks. How much is a few bucks? Can you tell us that?
So it's $10 for the interview, because if you make it too much, then people will just have their moms and sisters coming in for an interview.
Right.
$10 for an interview, 90 after a month to make it the 100.
Uh-huh.
And then 200 after 3 months. So then the whole thing would be 300 if it's a good fit.
Okay. So $300 to find a great employee.
And we've dabbled with the idea of doing different levels. This is for a foreman, this is for an apprentice. But we found with our experience that basically anyone can sell you a dream on the interview, and pretty easy to BS. So we've been hiring, again, why we're younger, we've been hiring young and training the way we want them, our values and the Lynch Power way, rather than bringing in older, more experienced gentlemen who lacks the culture and wouldn't fit in with our team.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I think that's a key piece, is that you're looking at training them and that they're going to grow with you, with the company.
Exactly.
What makes an A player in your mind?
An A player, from our experience, is someone, it's in them. It's hard to teach hard work and your ability to care about a situation. So, our best guys are the guys that call me after they've left and say, hey, did you lock the job box? oh no, I didn't get a chance to. Oh, you know what? I'm going to turn around right now and do it. And I'll be like, no, you don't have to. And then the next day I come in and find that they went and did it. That level of caring is something that we can never really train. You could tell someone to do it, but I think that kind of characteristic and personality trait is really in the person. And to be honest, they're extremely hard to find. But when we do find them, we treat them like gold and, give them not whatever they want, but, help them up as much as we can.
So can you give some examples of that? What does that look like?
So one of the questions I ask every quarter is, what can I do for you? And sometimes they'll say, more money. Okay, fine. And then that's a conversation. Well, you're not quite there yet. You know what? We wanted to talk about that. You are worth it. And we wanted to give you a raise anyway. Other times, they'll say, I'm not really working well with this person. Okay, well, let's talk to them about that. Or sometimes they just say, another question I ask during that conversation is, where do you see yourself in 5 years? So if they say, and I say right after that question, it's okay if it's not here because I want to help you get there no matter what. Because at the end of the day, we want them to be happy. And I think putting good out into the world and saying, he wants to be in sales at another construction company, that's fine. I'll try to get him into that role because that role's not here within our company quite yet. And, I think good karma just would come right back. And he obviously has friends and he talks to his friends. And even if he doesn't, it just maps out to us helping one more person achieve their goal. Because at the end of the day, that's what everyone's trying to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's not just a paycheck at that point. They feel like you're invested in them and you need them to be invested in your vision. So it has to work both ways to keep them engaged. So what I'm really struck by is you have quite a few millennial employees. And I would love to hear your perspective on millennials in the trades.
Yes, the millennials in the trades is definitely the land of misfit toys. Being a millennial myself, no one in my graduating, even high school class said, you know what, I'm going to be an electrician, or I want to be a plumber or a carpenter. Everyone wants these, I have a job in the city, wearing a suit every day. But, as life progresses, people see that just because traditional schooling tells you that's what you should do, doesn't mean you'll be happy doing it. So a lot of our guys are kind of people who have fallen through the cracks in school, wasn't really for them, but they like working with their hands, which is great because there's obviously a labor shortage in the trades. So working with millennials, what we've noticed is that they really like to be challenged. So giving them something that maybe you don't think they could handle and seeing if they'd rise to the occasion. And, they don't always rise to the occasion, but if they do, that's a huge win for them. And you could really see their whole morale and just overall confidence boost because they were able to complete something that they, going into it was over their head. Another thing with millennials that's crucial is communication, because we live in a smart world where, and especially them, they could pick up a phone, call anyone at any time to talk about anything. So quarterly, some of the feedback we've been getting from our quarterly reviews is that they want to meet more often and talk even more and have more communication, which we're totally open for. So now we're looking to have even more communication.
Communicate. Like there's no such thing as over communication, right?
Exactly.
Wow. Any other observations? Like what's been important?
Again, for millennials, it's not all about the money. It's rare that someone will sit down with us at a quarterly review and say, I want $5 more an hour, or, I need more benefits. It's make sure they're challenged. It's make sure you're talking to them. And then I think the culture also kind of backfeeds into this, where they're happy to come into work every day and they do work with their friends. And, a couple of our guys regularly meet on the weekends and go out together. So I think it's the family atmosphere of being part of something bigger than yourself that they also really thrive in.
Yeah, I think that's a good point there. So you've brought on 10 employees in the past year, and I know that you haven't just scaled team. That's meant scaling in your systems, scaling in all kinds of ways. So can you speak to how you've been able to scale your business in the past year?
So again, I think it all goes back to culture. We're very family oriented, and having such a strong culture, we're able to move at a lightning speed. And then the culture kind of goes into the core values, which everyone knows we go over every quarter. So not that, how to put in an outlet would really go back to core values, but, one of our core values is pride in work, pride in workmanship. So to some extent, putting in an outlet does feed back to the core values. And as we're getting bigger and bigger, we're trying to set up these processes where obviously there's 1,000 ways to put an outlet in, but there's a Lynch Power way to do it. And this is the right way. So
I knew you were going to say there's a Lynch Power way. I knew that. I love it.
So what I'm working on in my quote unquote free time is the Lynch Power way of basically how to do everything you could think of within the business, starting in the field, and then I'm going to be working my way out. And there'll just be a video series where an apprentice, if a foreman's not there, he could go on YouTube or, a video platform and see, how do I put this outlet in? And it's going to be a step-by-step process. This is the way we do it. This is the right way we do it. And then as we get bigger and bigger, I think that would relieve a lot of the growing pains.
Yes, I agree that having a standardized way of doing things. And I also pick up in that it's not just the technical way of putting in the outlet. It's the care, the workmanship, and the attitude that goes into how that outlet is being installed that makes up the Lynch Power way.
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, someone like yourself or someone who's not technically in the field is never going to look at an outlet and be like, wow, would you look at that? Would you look at the pride, the workmanship in that? But, the way I always say it to my guys is, imagine if your son's an electrician and in 50 years, you want him to go into a panel that you did or a splice box that you spliced and say, you know what, my dad did that and it looks really good.
Yeah. Yeah. The pride and the workmanship that's there. So I'm curious about something. Your dad, you brought him on as a team member. What has that been like to bring your dad in and to work with your dad?
So it's actually gone pretty well because I'm a lot like my mother. So we balance each other out. It's kind of how their marriage has worked for however long, it's 35 years, is that this has been going so well. But at the other end of that, we also have the same values, which a lot of our core values are based off of. So our core belief system the same, but the way we operate it a little different. Definitely a visionary, dreaming big, thinking big, and he's more of the implementer where he brings stuff down and he'll ground me. Because if I was by myself for these 5 years, I think I would have probably went bankrupt already. But he's definitely held my feet to the earth and grounded me a little bit, and he's been my reality check whenever I need it. So it's been a great ebb and flow of ideas and strategies that have gotten us to this point.
So can you give any pointers for working with your parents? Because I have clients who have this going on, and I know family business, that's the majority of small businesses that are out there are family-based business. So what pointers can you give us, Kieran, for working with your parents?
I would say I hit the lottery with my parents in general, but definitely with my father in taking this position because, when he did retire, he said, I'm doing this for you and this is yours. Obviously he's older and he's looking to retire within the next 10 years and then it would be mine and I'll continue to grow it. But he's really just helping me out right now. I could definitely see how if he had it and I jumped on, how there could be some problems there. But for me, I'm lucky because I'm ultimately the decision maker and he really just helps me, guides me through the path.
Okay.
So I'd say I'm more of an outlier, but in general, working with my father is great. I mean, it's someone else because at the end of the day, being a business owner, you're on the hook for whatever happens. So to share some of that responsibility with him and, we're both the kind of guys that would go and do whatever it takes to get anything done because at the end of the day, our name's on our shirts. And that's where I get that from. And he obviously holds that same concept. So it's definitely been a blessing.
I can imagine. That's wonderful. So the other thing that I am curious about is you mentioned you had a business plan when you started the business, that you wrote that up and you presented it to your father. Over the 5 years, have things gone like that business plan?
Not at all. But
not at all. Okay. What did that business plan, what did you predict was going to happen and what's different?
So originally I thought we would be a general contractor, which is someone who hires all the subs and manages the projects, which we did for 6 months. And then, and kind of forgetting about the electrical side of things. But as we've grown and evolved, we've kind of flipped it. Profit margins are a little higher on the trades. I hated the liability of having to rely on other people, whereas, it's our own guys in electrical, it's our own guys doing our work, and we kind of have the final say in the umbrella over what's happening in our company. But other than that, the numbers have worked out somewhat, whereas, we're profitable, making money, and on an upward trend.
Yeah. So you mentioned you're profitable. Kudos to you, because not many businesses are, especially in the first 5 years. And as we were talking before we started recording, you mentioned you've been on the Profit First podcast. So I'm guessing from that you've implemented Profit First in your business.
Yes, we have.
So how long ago did you implement Profit First?
About 2 years ago.
What got your attention about Profit First?
The way Mike sets up the analogy that humans are used to eating everything off their plate, which obviously could be very translated, basically use all the money you have in your account, regardless if you're killing it or you don't have any. You basically it's human nature to just use up all your resources. So, it's pretty it's intuitive to think that, setting aside a certain amount, allocating every month, that you can kind of protect yourself from the rainy days, which in contracting can be bountiful.
Yes, lots of rainy days. So what's been the impact for you of having Profit First in place as you've grown and as you've scaled as rapidly as you have?
It's definitely helped us stay profitable. It's helped us know where to put our money, when to make that big investment into the next piece of machinery, the next truck we need. It's helped us stay aligned and really focus on other parts of the business that we had to grow. Not that we neglect the financial side of our business, but it's kind of self-sufficient, and it kind of tells you, at a real time how you're doing. Can you afford to spend money here? Do you have to cut back here? So it kind of gives you the answers that you need without having to look that much into it.
Yeah. Well, it functions like a good system because it can operate in the background.
Yep.
And keeps things humming along. So does having gotten larger mean more money?
Right now, no. So, as we've been growing, we have been making these investments, with, more cars, more people, more trucks, more equipment. But I think, if we were to stop where we are now and kind of take a break and just focus on profitability, I think we would be able to grow that section more. But that's not really how it works, because, as you get bigger and keep completing good work, they want GCs and owners, developers want to keep hiring you. And it's hard to say no, but I also know that it's important to say no to grow, because I think right now we should probably take a little breather, focus on our core customers, and start kind of weeding out the customers that have crept in from referrals when we took jobs, maybe when we were a little slower and just needed work, to focus on the jobs where we make a lot of money. We like doing the work, we're good at the work, and we know that there's repeat business. But that's always been, and I think that forever will be, a hard weight to juggle.
It is very hard to make those decisions. What you're describing sounds very much in line with the Pumpkin Plan. Are you familiar with that book by Mike McCallum?
Yeah.
Okay. So a lot of our listeners are Profit First implementers and pumpkin planners on this podcast. So have you implemented the Pumpkin Plan?
Not to a T, whereas I think now that we have a bigger company, I might start looking at it a little more, where we are weeding out our non-desirable clients and starting to focus and hone in and find more of the top tier clients that we need.
Yeah. So from what you know right now, what is your sense of your best client? What are they like? What is the description?
So our best client is a owner developer. In the construction industry, one of the big pain points is accounts receivable. Sometimes, even though you completed a job, it does take a while for that money to get back to you. And on the owner side, if you're working directly for an owner, in our experience, that has shrunk significantly. So it helps with cash flow. They're usually not bidding against so many other people. So it's a quicker turnaround. You could keep your margins slightly higher because they don't beat you up on price as much. So, if we had 10 of those guys and could kind of cut out the guys that do beat you up and work isn't as constant, we would be off into the sunset.
Yeah. I think you need to pumpkin plan, Kieran.
Yeah, I think so.
So what would it be like? Let's do a little visioning here. I'm going to put on my coaching hat. What would it be like if you had 10 more of those? What would be going on in your company?
Have a lot of cash, readily available cash, which isn't always the case. And we'd be bigger. We'd be more profitable. Probably get out of the more, we could hire some of the people to do the stuff that I shouldn't be doing so I could focus on the business, not in the business. And I'm confident that we'll get there one day. 5 years seems like a long time, but if you think of how long I'll eventually be doing this, I'm just getting started. And I always try to humble myself and remind myself to have patience because, like I said before, I'm a visionary. I was thinking big and always wanting things to happen quicker. But I always have to remember that I'll be doing this for so much longer and that, in 5 years, 10 years, I think I will have the company that hopefully dream of. One of my favorite quotes, I think it was Tony Robbins that said it, is that humans overestimate what they could do in 1 year, but underestimate what they could do in 10 years, which makes a lot of sense because, if you put a 1 year goal, especially if you're optimistic about it, it's 50-50 if you're going to make it. But in 10 years, that's so long if you really think about it. 10 years ago, I was still in high school, but in 10 years from now, who knows what it'll be like. So I try to stay patient as possible and just keep grinding.
I just want to absolutely put 5 exclamation points behind what you've just said, because I've come a long way in my business in the course of 10 years. And I don't know who told me to do it, but when I was starting out as a coach 14 years ago, I got the idea that I should sit down and write out my vision of how I wanted my business to be. And as I was writing it, it felt, I had this little gremlin in the back of my head saying, that's crazy. That'll never happen. That's just too much. On and on and on. But something inside of me just said, no, just write what you want. Just keep writing, Sabrina. And as I did, and I've kept that, and I looked back on it after just 2 years, I had made tremendous strides. My life is so different now because I was so set on creating a clear vision. And it absolutely can happen. So I'm a little older than you, Kieran. Not too much older, but a little older. And I just want to say you're so spot on and you're so wise to know that already. It's phenomenal. So with your business and you've talked a lot about your culture and making things fun. I also heard you use the phrase, quote, unquote, free time. In this growing business. So what is your work-life balance like right now?
So work-life balance, probably about a year ago, was non-existent because there wasn't any balance. It was just work. There's no life to it.
Oh my goodness.
But over the past couple of years, we've had a couple children. And, when my first son was super small, they're super boring. So there's really not much. But it wasn't until
I agree. Totally.
Not much going on there. Just laying around, peeing, pooping, eating. That's it. But when he got older and he got a personality and he was actually fun to play with, that's when it kind of set on to me. And I was like, I really have to start devoting time to my kids, and not only my kids, but my wife, who, again, hit the lottery with my wife. But it only comes a point where you're working till midnight every night, falling asleep on the computer until she kind of says, what's going on. So, with my children getting older, it really hit me. And things that I've started to do is at 6 o'clock every night, I turn off my phone, go put it on the charger, and just focus 100% of my time with my family, whether we're eating dinner, going to the playground, whatever we're doing. I just don't, I'm not active on my phone, not checking emails. It's just either in my pocket on the charger, not looking at it until the kids go to sleep, and then I'll look at it again. But at that point, emails aren't flying and phone calls aren't coming anymore. And I found that after 6 o'clock, it's okay to say, sorry, I was eating dinner with my family. People usually take that as a pretty normal, respectable answer. But before that, people really expect you to answer the phone. Another thing that I've been doing is, this is for me and my wife, once a month, we'll go out to dinner, no kids, just the two of us. We'll make it a date night. Usually try to do it on a weeknight, so we'll definitely have a babysitter. And we just go out, don't talk about anything, but just spend time together and get to just keep that spark there and flowing.
Yeah, well, that's important too. So you're very intentional. Is there anything else that you're doing differently these days?
No, so I'll also make a point just to, go away with the family at least once a year with everyone. I mean, we have younger kids, so that could be a little harder with the plane, but, we did it last year. I just always make it work. It's hectic in the moment, but then looking back on it, it's always, I'm so glad we did that.
It's very worthwhile. I've taken my daughters on some amazing trips, and I have terrible airport stories and airplane stories with them, but we had amazing trips outside of what happened on the plane.
Exactly.
So I encourage you in that way. I so appreciate what you're sharing, because I firmly believe that work supports life and not the other way around. And it's in a growing business, holding the work-life balance in check so that it doesn't take over, because it could destroy relationships with your kids, in your marriage. And I wonder if you've given any thought to this. You've learned life lessons from your father and watching him be in business. What are the lessons that you want your children to learn about business as they watch you?
It's a deep one. That doing the right thing is always the right thing. At the end of the day, money comes, money goes. You always be able to make it back. But there's very few people, I don't think anyone's ever, sat on their deathbed and said, you know what, I wish I worked more. So I always, make the time for your family first. Understand, like you said, you're in business to provide for your family. Obviously, with more money and revenue, you could do nicer things and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really buy happiness. What buys happiness is spending time with your family and, going on vacations with them and just being around them, watching your family grow up. And yeah, just doing the right thing. It all comes down to being positive, always being optimistic about the situation. And, we've had some pretty dark days and we've always come out of it. So you always have to keep the faith, keep your head up and keep pushing, grinding along.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I want to close with. If you were talking to somebody who was a few years behind you in their business development, so yourself when you were 3 years in, what would you say to yourself 3 years ago based on what you know now?
To have patience, because 3 years ago I definitely didn't. It was kind of a spark, a light bulb went off in my head and said, you're still so young. Everything's not going to happen at the speed of light. You really have to take a step back and just have patience. And, 98% of the stuff that I do every day, almost the same. It's repetitive, but just doing that same thing over and over and grinding is really what gets you there in 10 years. And doing those 98% of things the best way you can over and over, I think is what grows you professionally and developmentally too.
Absolutely. That's some big words of wisdom, Kieran. I love it. Thank you so much for being with us today and for what you shared. You've really talked so honestly and openly about your experience. And I can tell that the things that you've learned and that you shared, they have not come easy. And so I know that there's some listeners out there who are probably in some very difficult situations right now, and your words have encouraged them. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Keep on grinding. Thank you.
So Profit Designers, wow, that was such a fun discussion. I loved Kieran's insights. And I just want to pause here and let you know about some resources that we touched on during the episode. So first off, you heard us talk about Profit First. And we have a Profit First starter kit for you if you would like to get started with Profit First in your own business. Just head on over to tapthepotential.com/Profit First, and you'll be able to download our starter kit. If you are interested in learning my strategies for hiring the best, and I have an awesome example of how an effective employee referral incentive program can work for you, that's available in my free masterclass at howtohirethebest.com. And then finally, the biggest topic that I think we touched on is creating that work-life balance where work supports life and not the other way around. I'm very passionate about that. I am committed to changing the story of entrepreneurship so that there are not broken families and relationships with children and our health that suffers when we're grinding it out in these growing businesses. And that's what the 4-week vacation is all about. So if you head on over to 4weekvacation.com, you will be able to get my 4-week vacation jumpstart guide, which puts your business on the trajectory for you being able to take a 4-week vacation. But even more than just being able to take a 4-week vacation, it really is about how do you start creating a life even as your business is growing. Thank you for spending time with us today. Join our conversation in the Profit by Design podcast Facebook group. Share your thoughts on today's episode, ask us questions, and let us know what you want to hear about next. Visit our website at profitbydesignpodcast.com to access resources from our sponsors and tools we've created for you. Subscribe to the show on whatever platform you're listening to right now. There's a subscribe button right there. Go ahead and hit it so that you always get a notification when we release a new episode. And finally, share our podcast with a friend if you know a friend who would enjoy it. Thanks again for listening. This is real life business. Keep your chin up, keep moving forward. You got this.